you learn how to play harder at each level you go to. You think you're playing as hard as you can in high school. I remember somebody showing me a tape, years ago, and I'm just walking up the court and walking back and maybe getting back and maybe not. You don't know all that stuff. You just sort of evolve. But going to a place like Kentucky, you do realize that it doesn't matter. A lot of these guys are mad at you because you're at Kentucky. And they wanted to be recruited and be where you are. And so that helped prepare me for the NBA, though, very much so, because that's the same thing, especially if you're a high pick, you went through it. Guys are going to go at you. Right.
Yep, absolutely. And, it's kind of funny you mentioned that about work ethic and how to play harder. I was also very fortunate. So I step into the situation where I'm playing with the best player in the league and Michael Jordan. Yeah. And one of the things that I always kind of hung my hat on, as I got into the NBA was my work ethic, and I get to Chicago and I'm like, all right, I'll do what I do and be patient and I'll just outwork these guys. Well, that didn't exist because everybody at that level works that hard. Plus I had the guy in Michael Jordan who not only was he the best player, but his work ethic was second to none. I mean, that's probably what blew me away the most. And even then I had to sit down and be like, call back to my college coach. I had Ed Martin, who's the assistant that kind of took me under his wing. And I was like, Coach, I need your help here. You've developed me into this particular player. You've shown me and to help me define work ethic. But I got this guy up here that's crazy. I mean, this guy is he's the opposite of everything you hear about when it came to NBA players. In the sense, and what I mean by that is a lot of people, and this isn't, this is an outside perception of people that aren't in the league, because everybody wants to, and there was something on today while I was in the gym, everybody wants to talk about Allen Iverson and, we're talking about practice, right. So that's kind of, people have that image of, NBA players don't practice, don't work hard. They're just all naturally gifted players. And I just remember, like you talk about your first day of practice at Kentucky, my first day of practice in Chicago. And I just established NBA players, a veteran team. Yet here's this guy, Michael Jordan, that's just outworking everybody. And he's the best player. It's not like he's sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And I had to call Coach Martin and just be like, hey, I need you to come up here. We need to talk. You got to help me figure out how I can get to the next level. I need to expedite this process, this growth process, because right now I got this guy that he doesn't know anything about me. He's got a bad perception of who he thinks I am.
Right.
And how do I change that? And he helped me do that. But, Coach Martin did. He came up and watched game film with me. We sat in my living room. He'd come to practice because, he was well respected as the coach when he was the head coach at TSU. He was Truck Robinson's college coach. So he had a lot of relationships with the NBA guys. So they let him come to practice and he would watch practice and take notes. But that's where I was fortunate enough. I had somebody watching my back all the time. I think there's a lot of guys in the NBA that didn't necessarily have that crutch that I had, but yet they had that inner toughness of being self-motivated. I was self-motivated, but it was just when I got to that level, I was kind of taken back by this particular guy.
What did you think at first Jordan's perception was of you, that you said he had this perception? What was that? And do you remember a time when you saw his perception of you change?
Nice.
Well, he made a comment, and I talk about this a lot too. He made a comment. He says, well, I can't refer to him as Will Perdue, but because he's not good enough to play in the Big Ten. So I'm just going to call him Will Vanderbilt.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
And I just I shook it off, but
because
I didn't play a lot. Oh yeah, it hurt. I mean because, I always told people I just didn't come in and have to impress the coaches. This was a different level of respect. I had to impress the coaches, but I also had to impress Michael Jordan. because, if you want to step on the floor, that guy's got to have the necessary respect for you to be out there and play with him. So, I just kept plugging away, spent a lot of time in the weight room, came early, left late. I tell people all the time, I mean, my rookie year, I think I played a total of like 183 minutes total over 82 games. So, it's what, 2 minutes and 15 seconds a game. I got a lot of 2 trillions, DNP CDs.
DNPs. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was just, the one thing I didn't do, and that's the other thing where the game has changed a lot. I didn't let that disappointment show externally. I mean, I had a lot of sleepless nights. My game of choice, and when I was younger, we'd have a game. I wouldn't play. I'd come home. I would be frustrated, disappointed, angry. I would sit there and play Tetris till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. Just mindlessly. Right.
Yeah.
Just
trying
to
to burn
escape
off
for a little bit. Yeah.
this anger. And then I
Then
would
you
go
get
to
that
bed.
Tetris head. You get that Tetris
What's that?
head where everything's Tetris. When you play it too much, you're like, a car could fit in between those 2 cars. You're like, too much Tetris.
Well, it's either Tetris or, I always joked, it's one of the greatest Seinfeld episodes when George has got to push the Frogger machine across the highway, across the street.